This episode of FineScale Modeler's New Product Rundown features Polar Light's new Enterprise, Dora Wing's Lancer, Zvezda's Sherman, and Italeri's H-34.
New Product Rundown brought to you by Hobby Zone USA, your source for hobby storage solutions, hard-to-find hobby tools, and aftermarket modeling needs. And by Call TV Man's Hobby Shop, the place to go to for science fiction and fantasy kits, details, masks, decals, and more.
Welcome to FineScale Modeler's New Product Rundown, the video series detailing the latest kits. I'm Aaron Skinner.
And I'm Elizabeth Nash. This episode features an exciting lineup of kits, starting with Polar Light's 1/1000 scale USS Enterprise from Star Trek Discovery.
The company released a 1/2500th scale kit of this version of the ship several months ago, but this one matches the popular constant scale for many of their Trek ships.
The ship is impressive in this scale, coming in at nearly 18 inches long when finished. The silver-gray plastic parts are marked with recessed panel lines, and all of the windows are molded open.
In fact, the kit is designed to be lit using Polar Light's separate set, and the brackets are molded inside the parts to support the LEDs and wiring.
The neck is molded with the secondary hull halves, with separate parts for the navigational deflector array and dish.
The engine pylons are molded in halves, with vents molded on the inside faces.
Nice surface detail marks the warp nacelle halves, as well as the external details. Up front are internal parts, some of which aid lighting.
As you'd expect from a kit designed for lighting, many parts are provided in clear plastic, including the inner and outer parts of the Bussard collectors, the rear of the warp engines, the warp engine intercoolers, impulse engines, shuttle bay, windows for the bridge, and the planetary sensor array, as well as inserts for all of the windows and navigation lights.
A large dome base and metal rods support the model.
A small decal sheet provides registry numbers and striping. The sides of the lower box show the marking placement and painting details.
Polar Lights has a separate decal set to add all of the Aztec panels.
It comprises 83 decals on 3 large sheets, so it should be possible to paint the ship metallic gray and end up with a terrific replica.
Fans of Star Trek Discovery should be happy with this new kit, and it will look great with other versions of NCC 1701.
Next, a kit I've been looking forward to since Dora Wings announced it, a 1/48 scale P-43 Lancer.
Developed as a fighter, the Lancer wasn't particularly good in that role, but it was fast at altitude and provided a good recon platform.
Fine recessed panel lines mark the surface of the airframe parts like the fuselage halves and the wings, which are divided into upper halves and a full-span lower section with the belly around the supercharger.
The ailerons, rudder and elevators are separate.
The cockpit includes a floor and rear bulkhead, side walls that receive a bunch of controls and panels, seat, controls, and pedals. The flat instrument panel gets detailed with decal dials topped with photo-etched metal bezels. A detailed plastic panel is included but not mentioned in the instructions.
The engine comprises 2 banks of cylinders with separate crankcase cover and ignition harness, as well as pipes and exhausts. It is attached to the firewall with a multiple-part engine mount, and the cowl includes sides and upper section, as well as a one-piece front. The 3-blade prop looks good.
There's detail molded in the main gear bays, as well as the complicated gear struts and actuators. The main wheels are molded in halves.
In addition to the canopy and windshield, the clear parts include the lights and the gun sight. Pre-cut masks are supplied to aid painting the canopy.
Photo-etched brass includes the seat harness, screens, and cowl flaps.
Decals provide 4 marking options for U.S. Army Air Force's Lancers. 1 natural metal, the other 3 olive drab over neutral gray.
Except for a little flash, the parts look good, and I can't wait to see how this goes together.
Next up is Zvezda's 1/35 scale M4A2.
This is the diesel-powered variant of the Sherman, many of which were sent to the Soviet Union, France, and Britain under the auspices of Lend-Lease.
The lower hull builds from the belly and sides with molded bolt, panel, and weld seam detail. The cast transmission cover with casting numbers but no texture, and rear plate, all bolstered by an internal support. The rear engine vents and deflector are here, protected by the upper rear plate.
The upper hull incorporates the front fenders and has weld seams and casting numbers. The crew hatches are separate, as are the vented engine hatches for the rear deck. Sponson plates, sand skirt attachment brackets, tools, lights, bow machine gun, tow cable, and applique armor finish the hull.
The running gear has front and rear bogie halves with track skids, arms with separate springs, and 2 types of road wheels, pressed spoke, called for in the instructions, and concave smooth. There are also idlers, 2 styles of drive sprocket, all of which get wrapped in Lincoln-length tracks that appear to be T-47 E1 style.
Most of the turret is a single part with a separate undercut at the back and ring. The loaders and commander's hatches are separate. An unused cupola hints that other versions of the M4 are forthcoming. Except for separate optional muzzles, the main gun is molded as a single part with the coaxial machine gun. It fits into the mantlet and turret front. A .50 caliber machine gun and antenna finish the turret.
Clear plastic supplies light lenses and periscopes.
The decals provide markings for 4 tanks, 2 Soviet and 2 American.
So yep, it's another Sherman, but based on what's in the box, this should be an easy build with good options.
Finally, let's take a look at Italeri's 1/48 scale H-34.
This tooling started life as a 1/48 scale Wessex, the turbine-powered version of the helicopter.
This marks only the second H-34 in the family.
The fuselage halves from the cockpit back feature recessed panel lines and rivets, as well as raised hinges, panels, and reinforcements. Inside, there are some frames and longerons.
A belly piece includes a modicum of engine detail up front. The nose finishes the main airframe, with optional port halves accounting for differences in exhaust setups.
Inside, there's a cabin floor and ceiling, webbing seats for the walls, a front bulkhead, and rear wall with doorway. The ceiling doubles as the floor of the transmission compartment, to which is added the top of the transmission, and, ultimately, the multi-part rotor head. The rotor blades have sag molded in. A nicely molded vent panel completes the mechanicals up top.
The cockpit features a floor with center console, quilted back wall, seats, controls, overhead, and main instrument panel. The latter uses a decal and photo etch metal face for details. Clear parts with well-defined frames should make masking and painting easy.
Other PE parts include seat harnesses, the prominent engine screens, optional chin vents, and optional screen parts. Also optional are the weapons, with a pair of M60s for the U.S. Marine version in Vietnam, and 3 .50 caliber machine guns, and a 20mm MG-151 carried by French helicopters during the Algerian War.
The decals provide markings and stencils for 5 H-34s, 3 French, including 2 in Algeria, a USMC UH-34D listed as shot down in Vietnam in December 1965, and a German Air Force pilot training school helicopter from February 1962.
This looks like it'll build nicely from the box, including good marking options and provide a foundation for super detailing.
Look for full build workbench reviews of the Enterprise, Lancer, and Sherman.
And you can see more new products in the October issue of FineScale Modeler magazine, on sale now.
Thanks for visiting FineScale.com.
And thanks for watching. I'm Elizabeth Nash.
I'm Aaron Skinner. Happy modeling.
And thanks for watching. I'm Elizabeth Nash.
I'm Aaron Skinner. Happy modeling.
Elizabeth off, Aaron on. Okay, Elizabeth?
This looks like it'll build nicely from the box, including good marking options and provide a foundation for super detailing.
Oh, you want me to say my line?